Code Vein is a game that I've always been meaning to play, and I figured with the somewhat recent announcement of Code Vein 2, what better time than now to jump into the original to see what I've been missing. And as you can tell from the title, I ended up platinuming it as well. Before getting into the trophies proper though, there are a few things to note. Don't worry, it's going to be short. First up, I probably won't mention every single trophy, as some are unmissable story ones, or so simple that I'd have nothing to meaningfully add. It would just be me listing it frankly, and I don't want to do that. Second, I won't go super deep on plot spoilers or anything like that. I think it's really unnecessary for this kind of video. So upon starting the game, one thing went through my head pretty quickly, and that was, balls, is this a Souls game? So, little bit of trivia, a little bit of lore about me. I've never actually played a Souls-like prior to this game. Never played Dark Souls, never played Elden Ring, or any of the things inspired by them. There's no special reason for this, I'm not a hater or anything, I just was never drawn to these games at any point. As this was my first Souls-like, I was a little worried I would end up not liking it, but considering I made this video, you can probably tell that did not end up being true. I quite enjoyed the game. None of the bosses were too hard, but also difficult enough to where it wasn't completely free and I actually had to, engage with the game properly. Honestly, swarms of enemies were way more dangerous than any one boss could be. Before getting into the main trophy part though, I'll quickly say that you need to get all the endings in the game for a trophy, of which there are 3. Well, technically 4, but we'll get to that. So I decided to use this first playthrough to do most things in the game. Collectibles and whatnot. Really, this is just the vestiges, but one thing that I absolutely will give the game is that most of the vestiges I found without needing to look anything up. In fact, the only ones I ended up missing were in the first area, so I'm going to chalk that up to my own inexperience with where exactly to look, rather than the game making them really hard to find. You also need to find all the mistiles, which are like your teleport waypoints, or bonfires, that's what they call them in Dark Souls, they're bonfires. But also this needs you to clear all the depth areas, which I actually did need to look up how to do because some of the depths maps are locked behind side quests, and I didn't want to have to scour through all of them myself. No, these side quests aren't especially long, but that is a step I did not want to have to do. It's fine to look things up, I think. Clearing the depths themselves weren't especially difficult. The bosses of them were generally just slightly beefed up versions of bosses in the main game, but as I saved them all for the post game, I was pretty over leveled for most of them and didn't struggle. The only exception to this is the boss of the last depths dungeon. It's a refight with the twin bosses, but the different thing about this one compared to the story is that when you defeat one of them, the other one gains their power, getting new moves and annoyingly a full heal. I had gotten both enemies pretty low on HP, just unintentionally, before defeating one, so the full heal was entirely unwelcome. But yeah, other than that, the depths was fine, but boy was I sick of them after getting the platinum for reasons that will become apparent, don't you worry. I did also do a few of the miscellaneous trophies in this run for equipping all the weapon and veil types. Literally just mashed through all the options I found before the final boss and they both popped. As well as fully upgrading my trusty sword and also the veil to max for those trophies. I ended up using an early game sword for the whole game, just because I got used to its moveset, and I am stubborn about changing things up. I also never used any of the skills in the game, other than the reviving companions one, just never really needed to. To end this first playthrough though, I'll tell you that for this one I went for the neutral ending, which needs you to restore at least one, but less than all of the successor's memories. I absolutely had a guide telling me the ending requirements by the way, but I don't think it really matters which order you do them in, but obviously I would like to end my playing, so to speak, on the best ending, so I saved that for last. Playthrough 2 was quick and easy. I didn't raise the difficulty level for New Game Plus because, to be frank, you don't need to for the Platinum, which is what this video is about. I'm not going to make my life harder for no real gain. If you like playing harder difficulties, more power to you. It's not necessarily my thing. Mine is more patience, which we will get to shortly, don't worry. But yeah, playthrough 2, I was going for the bad ending, which needs you to not find any vestiges, and get through the game without restoring any successor memories. It also lets you skip the second form of the final boss, because you don't deserve to fight it if you don't restore any memories, I guess. During this run, I also got trophies for learning 150 gifts and mastering 50 gifts. I would just get whatever I could afford whenever I could. As I said, I didn't really use any of them. I also got the trophy for receiving 30 presents from allies, and to be honest, I have no idea how this works. I saw some posts that tried to explain it, but all I really got from it is that if you give them more gifts and raise their gift number, they'll give you more likely. So I gave people more gifts. Does that make sense? What was I doing while waiting for the presents to come in though? Well, I was doing the multiplayer trophy, of course. Yeah, the game has multiplayer, I didn't know that. Now, if you've tried to platinum the game though, you know about this one. You need to reach companion level 30, which needs you to get 400 medals. Now, I'm not entirely sure on every single way to get medals. I did get a few just in my normal playthroughs. By a few, I mean I got like 5 across 2 playthroughs, so that's not reliable at all. And I also read that there's some tower that got added after launch that gives you them quite often, but the way I used was defeating bosses in multiplayer. You get 1 medal per boss. All the enemies at the ends of the depths paths count as bosses, so you can get up to 5 bosses in one load of the map. Unfortunately, I could not do that. Reason being is that I don't think you can join a game of an area that's higher than where you are in the story, and I didn't want to play more on my alternate account than I needed to. I just got my ult to the first depths map with 3 bosses. This takes forever. Actually forever. In fact, this grind to 400 medals using this method took me literally all day, from wake up to going to sleep. Like over 10 hours, over 12 hours, I have no idea how long it was. This was far and away the longest, most boring part of this trophy grind. But it's not difficult, is it? You can and really should watch something on another screen while you're doing this, whether that's a YouTube or a TV show or a movie or whatever. Please just do something else while you're doing this. I feel like I was lucky also that I have another console that I could boost with, as this game was not alive for co-op, as I'm sure it once was when it just come out and more people were playing. Here's hoping that the upcoming sequel doesn't have anything nearly as grindy as this, please. That brings us to the final playthrough though, which all I needed to do was get the good ending, and in doing so would get the final blood codes for that trophy as well. To get the good ending, you need to restore the vestiges and memories of each of the 4 successor bosses. But remember when I said there's technically 4 endings? So when I finished my 3rd playthrough, I did not restore the Eos vestiges to get the good ending. And then you reload the clear data, then restore the Eos vestiges, and then beat the final boss again to get the true ending. These are essentially the same, they shouldn't even really count as separate endings. The only difference is that your protagonist will save 1 extra line at the end, but to get all the endings for that trophy, they are counted separately. The only thing to note really is that it's important to remember to not restore the Eos vestiges first, otherwise you will need to do a whole nother playthrough. But getting that final ending truly ended it for me, as I got the platinum trophy for Code Vein. So after all that, what do I think of the game? Well, to be honest, I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. I was incredibly nervous when I realised what kind of game it was, but I think my trepidation was more to do with the relative difficulty of games like Dark Souls, for instance. I'm not one to play notably hard games, I'm not completely against it, but it's not the main thing I look for. And I think I had just attributed those games' well-known difficulty to the whole genre of Souls-like, when in reality there's no reason that this kind of game has to be super difficult. And Code Vein is a good example of that. To me at least, it was probably just about right on the difficulty scale. Will kill you, but not so much that it becomes annoying or frustrating. In fact, this game actually has convinced me to try the likes of Dark Souls and Elden Ring at some point, so good job Code Vein, you got me interested in another genre, you did it. The story of the game is serviceable, it gets the job done. Some of the particulars might have gotten lost on me, but I was enjoying what was happening and it all made sense to me. As far as trophies go, this list is almost great for this game. Literally, just change or remove the multiplayer one and everything else is pretty good and fair, while still needing you to see all the endings. Which to me is fine because subsequent playthroughs are a lot quicker than your first one. Though that like white area, god that's so long. Please, next time let me just teleport through it. Thanks. I don't know what's more to say. I enjoyed this game, and I'm now looking more forward to the second one, so gold star Code Vein. And that's the video. Have you played and or platinumed this game? How did you find it? Are you gonna get Code Vein 2 when it comes out? Let me know all that and more in the comments, and while you're down there, why not subscribe? It's free, helps me out, and gives you easier access to my videos, both old and new. Thank you for watching. For now though, I'm off. Hunt them tropes, and I will see you next time.